Trump to the African community and Trump to the immigrant community at large, Trump to the rest of the world. There was just a video that went viral on I think TikTok and X over an Israeli soldier shooting and celebrating that Trump had won. And by and large, you're seeing the world celebrating that this guy has won, right? He is one of the most he is the most obnoxious, aggravating, insulting individual or cultural icon that pretty much the world has ever seen. He has a loud bully pulpit and he uses it at every opportunity. Yeah. When people take a step back and look at the big picture, these are the things they see. All I see when I look at the Biden presidency, I'm like, the entire world lit up. And previous to that, everyone was, we were battling with this COVID thing, but it was not Trump who created it. That was not a creation of imperialism. It was just a pandemic, and how he handled it was poor. But that was not his fault. And then he insults us. He calls us shit. What did he say? Shithole countries. Yeah.
But not only did he insult us, his policies were also his policies.
Not only did he insult us.
You get the point that I'm making.
Not only did he insult us
to answer the question.
But not only did he insult us, but he also placed Muslim bans. Like these are real people,
and those are cause and effects. Those are cause and effects.
These are real people. What do you think a second Trump term would mean for maybe Africans? Let's first of all stick to the African side and the Kenyans who are here either undocumented or overstayed their visas, because Kenyans don't like being called undocumented or illegal. So let's say they overstayed their visas. So they're here, without the right papers or bila makaratasi. Dr. Angusi.
Yeah, so that's kind of the elephant in the room that we are here to talk about, sort of in the backdrop of how that win came about, as we were just discussing. So a couple of things to think about here is, first of all, let me first disclaim myself. So I come from a background of organizing. That's why I still kind of carry that tag as a social organizer. I was part of the Obama campaign. I was a field organizer both in North Carolina, in Florida, in some parts of South Carolina. I spent a lot of time in the grassroots trying to rally and canvass for votes. So I wanted to say that because I want to make sure that it's understood that this is the perspective of a lifelong Democrat. But Trump to the African community and Trump to the immigrant community at large, Trump to the rest of the world. There was a video that went viral on I think TikTok and X over an Israeli soldier shooting and celebrating that Trump had won. And by and large, you're seeing the world celebrating that this guy has won, right? He is one of the most, he is the most obnoxious, aggravating, insulting individual or cultural icon that pretty much the world has ever seen. He has a loud bully pulpit and he uses it at every opportunity. Yet he has not only won the hearts and minds of Americans, on the basis, obviously, of the economy and other issues that we were discussing earlier, but he's also won the admiration of the world. And there's a good reason for that. The thing you need to understand is that voters are very pragmatic. People vote with their pockets, they vote with their consciences. And don't take them for granted when they make a choice. Democrats like to assume that, hey, the reason why people are doing that is because they are dumb or they don't know him or they don't understand him. People know and understand and listen to this man every day, but still they are celebrating. There's a reason why, and I'll tell you what I think it is. First of all, in terms of domestic policy, he talks a big game. We know what he did in 2020. Ali, I'll correct you. immigration removals or deportations increased during the Obama years. We know that because we were part of that administration.
Yes, and
right?
let's actually get onto that because there's confusion. There's confusion about that.
What they say and then what they do are two different things.
Yeah.
The difference between Democrats and Republicans pretty much boils down to one thing.
So I think when you say deportations increased in Obama's years, fair statement.
Three of my family.
Fair statement. Deportations increased in Obama's years, but I think it's also important to attach to that these deportations decreased in Biden's years. And you can go check those numbers. Yes, they did decrease in Biden's years.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to also juxtapose those two. So there's no doubt.
So the point I was
over
making
the 8 years, Obama did deport more people than Trump did over 4 years.
Over 4 years.
So let's also put that to perspective: 8 years and 4 years.
So what the point I was making, without belaboring that point, we can talk about that to detail later. But the point I was making is that Democrats say one thing and then they do another. Trump will tell you exactly what he's going to do. So you can trust his word, whether you like it or not, right? So the other thing, in fact, ICE, this organization, I think it was formed during the Obama years.
No. So Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and this is the confusion that I think that is there across the board. So immigration, so it used to be called INS, Immigration and Naturalization Services. After 9/11. That's when there was an overhaul on this, and it came with immigration and customs enforcement. So, and not, of course, we don't want to belabor this point, but what happened is that when ICE came in, and the way the funding was set up, it was set up to do certain tasks, and it was set up to increase.
But it was changed from a naturalization service, like a government
to a customs enforcement,
to an enforcement,
to security. Security, really.
But I want you to understand
that accelerated.
But I want you to understand, because like the technical side, and not justifying that Obama deported more people, but the way sometimes when these when these organizations, or rather when these agencies are created and the funding is set up, they usually start with a certain small amount of funding, and that funding keeps going up with a mandate on what to do. So ICE was formed during Bush's administration, and then so as its mandate expanded, like the numbers started increasing under Bush, and then of course in that natural increment as the Department of Homeland Security expanded, ICE expanded, so those numbers went up. Under Trump, they plateaued because we also got COVID. So that was another thing that also made them plateau, and of course also within Biden's administration there was COVID, so that also was
but let me move the point on. So the other thing you've mentioned is 9/11. So and this is why the Middle East, as well as and I think this is the same case in Eastern Europe. Remember, this war started during Democratic led presidencies. So we're not looking at the Bush years.
Which war?
So when we think about Trump was responsible for the Abrahamic Accords. So nothing had broke out just yet. But immediately he leaves, the whole Middle East lights up, right? If it was not for the Abrahamic Accords, the barrage of missiles that were sent over from Iran towards Israel, whatever side of the aisle you are, would not have been intercepted by the countries which were signatories, because they were getting military support.
Dr. Angusi, I'll challenge you on that.
Yeah.
I will challenge you on that.
Yeah, I want to move the point.
Yes, we're going to move the point, but I think it is important for people to understand, because most people, outside a few of us, do not maybe necessarily go into these details.
Yeah.
So the Abraham Accords, and we have a caller, we're going to get to the caller. Again, the number to call is 202-683-4570, press *5 to speak.
Yeah.
So the Abraham Accords, these things are responsible for, you see the proxy war that's happening right now in Sudan?
Yeah.
Abraham Accords has something to do with it. You see the proxy war that has been going on in Yemen, where the Saudis have been killing Yemenis. This happened during the Trump administration. They killed more people than people who've been killed in Gaza.
I'm not even arguing that.
They killed more people.
Ali, I'm not arguing that. And I know this is a hot button topic for you.
Yes,
but let me hear my point.
It's not even about being hot button. It's about just people getting the right information.
And that is true.
It's about people getting the right information.
That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that from the perspective of global geopolitics.
Yes.
So you have the Ukraine war that broke out. Then you have the Israel-Palestinian conflict. And we don't want to know who, we're not talking about who is responsible, who are the actors. We're just saying what the effect of these conflicts have had on the world with respect to Trump's presidency and Africa and other parts of the world. You asked me to answer the question, what is the effect of these presidencies on our continent? The direct effect of the Ukrainian conflict is that it has affected grain prices. The direct effect of the Israel-Palestinian conflict exploding as it did has had an effect on oil prices. What does that do to our local economies? All of a sudden, we have a famine. Famines are not weather events. Those are human events, right?
Yeah.
There's not enough grain. I think Kenya was supposed to receive about 400,000 tons of corn from the international market to kind of supplement its local supply.
Yeah.
We didn't get that because of this conflict. Because I think Russia pulled out of I think it's called like the Black Sea Grain Accord. So that happens, and all of a sudden the country goes into distress. And this is happening across the region. So what was already a bad situation gets worse. Same token, oil prices, there's inflation in the country. Next thing you know, you have the finance bill to try and meet those deficits. Next thing you know, there's protests on the street. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, people make these associations. And this is why you're seeing this kind of salient support for Trump, because they're like, during the Trump years, we suffered his foolishness, and that was it. Like, all we needed to do was suffer his foolishness. During the Obama years, there was the Arab Spring, and the whole region went up in smoke. Then during the Biden years, the whole world is like on the brink of like a world war because of.
But are we also going to add the Bush years, or those ones
then we are going? That's going further back. But all I'm saying is, when people take a step back and look at the big picture, these are the things they see. All I see when I look at the Biden presidency, I'm like, the entire world like lit up. And previous to that, everyone was, we were battling with this COVID thing, but it was not Trump who created it. That was not a creation of imperialism. It was just a pandemic, and how he handled it was poor. But that was not his fault. And then he insults us. He calls us shit. What did he say? Shithole countries. Yeah.
But not only did he insult us, his policies were also his policies.
Not only did he insult us.
You get the point that I'm making.
Not only did he insult us to answer the question. No, wait. But not only did he insult us, but he also placed Muslim bans. Like, these are real people,
and those are cause and effects. Those are cause and
effects.
These
are real people who got affected.
Or isn't he the person who actually went and spoke to the OPEC countries and told them, stop drilling because my buddies in the oil industry in America are suffering, and I need them to be able to be the ones who are controlling production so they can increase the amount of oil in America so they can make money, and that's how gas prices went up, causing the inflation that's causing. When we point out these things, and you start saying during these years and during this year, that's a very lazy analysis of how issues are coming out, right? But then if we go back to the intricacies of how this happened, this is the same person who actually puts tariffs on farmers, puts tariffs on importers, and increase the prices of commodities that people consume every day. He put tariff on foreign alcohol, which caused the prices of beer going up. America consumes more than 70% of foreign beer. Put tariffs on whiskey.
Okay.
Put tariff. Hold up. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Put tariffs on manufactured goods that are coming in from outside of the country, which increased the prices of groceries up to now. On farmers, food production went high. So all this that you're saying right now and saying the Democrats, the Democrats suffer the correctiveness of his issues that are causing these issues. So when we start to give these political messages outside there and just say that during the Biden years, people remember this. Let me finish.
Yeah. Micah, let me make a point. Let me correct you here. So all I'm saying is, what do people see, whether it's true or not? Because the economic
perception.
It's just people vote, people like people
based on perception. So it's not necessarily true.
It's not necessarily true.
Okay, good.
It is not true that Trump saved the world. That is not true. But the perception is why is the world lighting up during and maybe it's we know, for instance, that there's been a lot of effort towards like managing the situation in the Middle East by both administrations, but more so the Democratic side, because they're on the side of, mostly on the side of those who are being oppressed.
Okay.
That's the right moral position to take.
All
but
right.
what the world sees when they look at this situation, they're like, wait, no, it's not. The world lights up when there's a Democratic president, and then things calm down when the Republicans.
Okay. All right.